Welcome to today's class. In this session, we are going to continue the same scientific research expenditure, and this is scientific research expenditure in connection with if the capital expenditure incurred by the assessee himself. So far, we made the discussion for revenue expenditure. In certain cases, if it is the capital expenditure and expenditure incurred for in-house research and contributions made to research institutions. Today, in this class, we are going to discuss the contributions made by the assessee for the purpose of capital expenditure. On that, the first one, any capital expenditure incurred by the assessee and section 35 and 35.14 and also 35.2. If the capital expenditure incurred in the previous year, that is 22-23, is fully eligible for claiming it as the deduction, right? So any capital expenditure incurred, so for all the things expenditures incurred for the previous year of 22-23 are eligible to claim this year 23-24. Based on the conditions, we can claim it as the expenditure. In this case, the capital expenditure for the year 22-23, here we can claim. And if the research is related to the business, it is 100% eligible for claiming it as the expenditure. That means we can debit in the P&L account. And another one is, if the expenditure is incurred for the pre-commencement period. See, I already explained you pre-commencement period in the sense, if the expenditure incurred prior to the commencement of the business and within 3 years, if the expenses are incurred, then we can claim it as the expenses, though the research was not started at the time of incurring the expenses. So please try to understand, though the expenses incurred but not the research started at that time, but we can claim it as the pre-commencement expenditure, and it is fully incurred, fully eligible, right? Then the next one is, in case of a capital expenditure, acquisition of land is not allowed. Acquisition of land is disallowed. What is the meaning? Capital expenditure, land, purchase of land will also coming under this category. Whereas setting up of research plant, setting up of research lab are eligible. Whereas acquiring the land for the purpose of starting the research is not eligible. Acquiring in the sense purchase of the land. Then next one is, if the assets are sold off. See, we are having the assets, and if the asset is sold off having been used for other purposes, in that case, if the asset is sold off and it attracts the tax as per the income tax rule for the previous year, right? Then another one is, if the amount exceeds the amount of capital expenditure, the excess or the amount of a deduction so made, whichever is less, shall be eligible to income tax as income of the business. That will attract income of the business and also the profession as per the case applicable. Then in that case, no depreciation is applicable. If the asset is used for the research, then no depreciation is allowable. No depreciation for assets used for the research. What are all the assets we are using it for the research? Depreciation is not allowable, right? Depreciation, you know very well. In income tax, depreciation under section 35, that depreciation is not allowable as per section 35(2)(4). But at the same time, if the asset ceases for the research, and for the research it is that asset is not used in the business, depreciation is eligible. So if it is used for the research, the depreciation is not permissible, whereas the same asset is not used for the depreciation, it ceases for the research and used it for the depreciation, used it for the business, then it is eligible. So in general, you take any capital expenditure for the in-house research. Capital expenditure only for the in-house research relating to the business, and it is meant for all the assessees. 100% of the amount incurred on scientific research during the previous year and within 3 years immediately preceding the commencement of the business. That is called what I am trying to say here. Immediately preceding the commencement of the business. That means pre-commencement expense business also. Expenses pre-commencement period of the business, that is also eligible for claiming the deduction. 100% it is eligible. So up to this point we are closing that scientific research, treatment of scientific research. From next class onwards we will discuss some more important points with other conditions.